come back.
Yes, and then come back. No, you can leave that. Leave that. Pick up the things that are in the way. Okay, now just let there be a path here for a minute for those who have an air flight to catch.
Who does not want to be filmed. All right. Here you can't fit easily. Yes. I'll lean it. Turn your bottom up.
Really, guys, there are empty seats. Please don't do this. No, if you're not assisting Candice in this moment, please take the proper seat. Look at them all. You'll be able to hear. Right there. Look all there. There's no one sitting in those places. This is really not proper behavior.
Proper. One seated and cared for. Does everyone feel that they're exercising appropriate behavior? Hello, everyone. I am Lama Candice, and I would like to begin today by asking for questions. I would much more like to respond to your questions than to utter something pre-planned. You can ask about me or about Dzogchen, about my relationship with Wangdo Rinpoche. So feel free. Go ahead. Who wants to start?
Yeah, I would like to about the Wangdo Rinpoche and the relation.
Good.
How does it end up?
Pardon?
How does it begin? How does he start teaching?
That's a good question. Thank you. Anyone else? I'm going to listen to all the questions, then I'll start speaking.
Mine was quite similar, actually. Just to give a little bit of background on your connection.
Happy to. My honor and privilege to. Anyone over here or here? Honolulu.
I would like you to talk about Dzogchen.
All right. Anything in particular, Honolulu? Anything
It's
in?
all Dzogchen, ma'am, so anything you'd like to speak on.
All right, good. Yes, Sasha.
Maybe the question that yesterday with the different yamas
Mhm.
and what your side is, or what your how you experience different yamas, and if they come together at one point, or how you experience all the teachings, parts that Buddha gave us.
Yes, I have a simple understanding, and I will share that with you. It will add to what Paul Rinpoche said yesterday. Oh, Pete, you have a question, yes.
I'd love to hear more about death. Yeah, I used to be afraid of death when I was younger. Since doing your teachings, I don't have any fear of it. In fact, sometimes I sort of look forward to it, but not, not in a negative way, just in a, because it's such an amazing thing. And I love it when you talk about, to understand it, that, in a way there is no birth and death, it's all a data stream. I'd love to hear more about that in relation to Chen practice. Thank you.
Right. Hello. People are coming. I'm going to begin with my meeting with Wangdor Rinpoche. And I would also like to share a little bit about my Judeo-Christian background because I was raised as a Catholic. And I was born high in the mountains of Colorado. I had a home that was extremely devotional. My mother, my grandmother, my father were all extremely devotional. So when I was growing up, I knew nothing else, not anything, heart devotion. And my parents exemplified this in their conduct, which was exemplary and totally serving of all 6 of their children. So I would especially like to honor them in this moment for giving me the opportunity for a precious human birth. Paul Rinpoche said something to me in private yesterday, and we were talking about my grandson who lives with us, and he has a very, Paul Rinpoche indicated that he has a very strong stream of Dzogchen from another life. We're writing a series of children's books, Celine and the little boy, 4 years old, Garib Dorje, and I. And one day he just said spontaneously, mind is invisible and it cannot be hurt or crushed. Anyone who wants to hear Dzogchen, the combination of my upbringing and mind is invisible and it cannot be hurt or crushed. The heart and the mind blended as one, the melting is spontaneous and always instantaneously available. Upon introduction to Dzogchen, which I'm sure all of you have had, I can tell by looking at you, then that's it. You have the introduction to the meditation. Rinpoche taught view, meditation, and conduct. So the view is the introduction, but the introduction must be practiced. And we have a foundational teaching, which is an ancient Dzogchen teaching, and that is our meditation practice in our community. It is short moments, repeated many times, become automatic. We have a very simplified approach to Dzogchen, and this is something that was encouraged in me when I met Wangdor Rinpoche. I was already teaching, I was already writing texts. I sent Rinpoche texts prior to meeting him. Lama Lena translated those for him. Prior to meeting him, I had a number of things occur that have never occurred at any other time in my life, and that is, I dreamt that a circular rainbow surrounded our monastery, and it went into the ground and came back up over the monastery. And I had no idea what a circular rainbow was, so of course I Googled it. And when I Googled it, I could see its relation to Dzogchen symbology. And that was very profound for me. I then was looking out the windows, which Rinpoche looked out of many times, the windows out over the ocean, the western horizon. And I could see a circular rainbow right in the middle, and then rays of the rainbow light going all the way to the edge of the horizon and around the earth. So I thought, you know, I'm deluded. I closed my eyes and opened them up again, and it was all still there. So I thought, okay, well, who knows? And a few days later, a friend of mine, I had told him about the dreams. He said, you must meet one of the 4 great living Dzogchen masters. He named Wangdor Rinpoche, Dujim Rinpoche, Diljo Khyentse Rinpoche and maybe His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I can't recall. When I met Wangdo Rinpoche, it was a very auspicious circumstance because many of us live in a very small beach town in California, and that's where our primary monastery is. We also have monasteries in Sweden and in Arambol in Goa. So if any of you are headed to those places, you would be more than welcome to come. When I met Rinpoche, it was for a weekend teaching on the nature of mind. And he literally was teaching at the front door of our monastery. There's a building there with a children's center, and he was teaching to an overflow crowd of folks. And so I took 12 friends, we went, and it was the first time I had seen people prostrating, doing full body prostrations, doing other kinds of prostrations, and uttering mantra in the Tibetan style. That was very profound for me. And when Rinpoche walked in, it was, for me, an instantaneous kind of reality. That's all I can say. I felt like everything opened for me beyond what I had already realized. So my experience is one of short moments of meditation, and it's something that I began early in my life because I was steeped in prayer and meditation as a devotional Catholic. And I loved all the rituals, all the colors, the music. I found that very beautiful. And when I was about 7, I guess, I grew up in Bermuda, so I went from Colorado to Bermuda. I knew that God is love, and that's all there is. God is love. And this is too what Dzogchen is. It's not a blanked out state of awareness or open intelligence. It's awareness with a strong foundation and kindness. And I think this is very important to cultivate in all ways possible. There are many enriching Dzogchen practices. Many of the people here are practicing the 3 roots. And there are also the 3 jewels, of course, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. You know all of this. The 3 roots, the Guru, Deity, and Dakini. Many of the people here right now are engaged in Dakini practice. Any of you who are ardent Dzogchen practitioners, I would suggest, can you hear me, Lynn? Okay, I would suggest the foundation of the 3 roots. I'm accustomed to having my voice amplified so everyone can hear. The 3 jewels and the 3 roots are essential, and for me they're always a practice of contemplation. As long as I live, I will be practicing. This is what Rinpoche told me. As long as I live, I will be practicing. The day I met Rinpoche, I sat next to him at lunch, and then he kept coming to the west, flowing into our lives, coming to our center and teaching there. He was staying at one of our homes, Heather's home, and one day Lena said, come into where Rinpoche is staying, so of course I followed. I went in and Rinpoche began unwrapping all of these things he had wrapped up in codex. malas and his dilbu, which he and Dorje, which he always used to teach Dzogchen, only used to teach Dzogchen. And I had no idea what was going on. I didn't understand the Tibetan, but I felt that there was something profound occurring. So what did I do? I started sobbing, of course. And to me kindly what was happening, Amelina, and told me that Rinpoche was inviting me to be a Lama, inviting me to teach. And I was accepting that from Rinpoche. And Rinpoche very specifically asked me to teach the Vajrahardas and Dzogchen, nothing else. So that's all that I teach. Palga Rinpoche is much more skillful at teaching the fundamental practices, if you're interested in that, the fundamental practices of Tibetan Buddhism, Hinayana, Mahayana, and Vajrayana. It's up to you to look at yourself and choose which is better for you or best for you out of the three. So Hinayana I look at as the following. There is the view and there are points of view. In Hinayana, points of view, negative points of view are suppressed. In Mahayana, positive points of view are cultivated. In Vajrayana, one enters into a practice of guru devotion related to one's practice. And in this practice, the guru gives key points and pith instructions. Key points are given publicly and in text, and pith instructions are uttered. Want the guru to. So this is important to remember, to ask questions and then to have them answered. Now, in Dzogchen, there are no points of view. All points of view are outshone, while at the same time they are whatever they are. The way I like to look at it is that initially there is a deep understanding of Dzogchen practice. A deep understanding is cultivated through returning to teachings and through reading texts. Secondly, there is instinctive recognition of the view, whatever you might call it. And instinctive recognition is just that. I think everyone here from the West can understand what that is. And Rinpoche understood what it was when I shared that expression with him, and so did Lama Lena. Instinctive recognition. I'm sure everyone here can relate to what instinctive recognition is. And then there is realization. So there, for each one, it is distinct. It could include all of what I've mentioned, or it could include none of it. As we practice, we come to have a much better understanding of ourselves. And so we can begin to ask a guru questions and have them answered either in a room like this or pith instructions one-to-one. How many here understand the view and points of view? Back there? View and points of view?
I don't really understand the question.
Okay, that's fine. What I'm asking is, how many of you understand the importance of this key point to practice, leaving everything unfettered instead of describing every single thing that comes up? Now, does anyone have a question? There are many people here who are seasoned in this practice, so I'd like to ask if any Rinpoche, he taught it and he continues to teach it in his lineage successors. There isn't anyone else teaching except Wangdo Rinpoche, view, meditation, and conduct. So we've already talked about view and meditation. Meditation can be short moments. It can be periods of sitting, including very long periods, entirely up to you how you want to approach your practice. When you get to Vajrayana, your guru will have a lot to say about your practice. And this is what I found true with Wangdo Rinpoche. When he gave me the instruction to teach the Vajra Heart Essence, to be a Lama, I felt that I was totally incapable of that. It wasn't something I had wished for, longed for. It had never entered my mind. I didn't know what it meant. One day I was driving along, I saw a trash can, and suddenly I knew what it meant to be a Lama. In this tremendous convergence of Dzogchen with other societies around the world, there is a major leap that needs to be taken in a certain way. And one is of languaging. The ancient texts written in Tibetan and Sanskrit are a challenge. And many of those texts have been translated. Some of the translations are better than others. So I would suggest that when reading a translation, to make sure that the person or the being who wrote the book is a legitimate Dzogchen lineage holder. This will be the best use of your time. And maybe too, if the Lama is alive, you could visit the person or the being and attend some teachings. If someone is writing original text, they definitely are a sublime being. And recognizing this in the writing is unique to each person. So as each person reads the text, each person responds to different things in the text. And the same is true with this kind of teaching. Each person responds in their own way. There isn't any organized, legitimate way of practicing Dzogchen. Yes.
Like the preparation or the evolution for getting where your students are, you take them close to the last jump, last lap. What is the previous practice?
That's a good question. We do it entirely based on the 3 jewels and the 3 roots, except in Western parlance, Western language. particularly American English, with a little bit of English spelling thrown in. We have quite a few teachings. We have thousands of transmissions, literally thousands, that have all been filmed. We have what are called the 12 empowerments. We have the principles of unity and service, which are about building a Sangha and keeping it strong, building a Sangha like we see here, where there is so much harmony. Of course, there's some infighting that occurs everywhere, but just so beautiful. It occurs to me to share something about the ancient texts of Dzogchen that I found to be fascinating, and that was valorization of the openness of students in accepting them for teaching. So traditionally, the categorizations are four. They are most excellent, superior, middling openness, and least openness. I'll wait until he arranges everything to go on. I'll repeat it again. Most excellent, superior, middling, and least openness. It's up to you to decide where you're at in that process. But I do suggest a very firm foundation. I grew up with a firm foundation. I was able to have the great honor and privilege of continuing to cultivate a foundation with Rinpoche, and I continue with Rinpoche to cultivate a foundation. I don't feel that ever goes away. It becomes spontaneous. However, there is a delight in Dzogchen community. There is a delight in Dzogchen community. In the West, where Dzogchen really isn't known at all, just becoming known a little bit, oftentimes due to Judeo-Christian culture, many people think they're suffering from original sin, even if they haven't practiced a religion, feel like they are stained with original sin. How many here have felt like they suffered from original sin? Okay. Now, even if you're an agnostic, really an agnostic is just another belief system, just like religion, which is a belief system. So to see where you are and to know that things like original sin, which touch us all so deeply, our whole societies are based on this concept, whether we are aware of it or not. So I really invite everyone to take a look and to just see, no matter what country or tradition you're from, including Tibetan Buddhism, I really invite you to look deeply within yourself to see where you feel like you can't do it, that you're not good enough to be a Dzogchen practitioner, that you can't possibly understand or practice or realize beyond deep understanding or instinctive recognition, that is only for certain beings who go to caves, or wandering mendicants, or lamas with large sanghas, lamas with small sanghas. Whatever it is, look within and decide what it is going to be for you that holds you back, that feels like a clenching in your heart. I can't go on. There's something about me that this just won't work for, this will never touch. That just isn't the case, because Dzogchen, like Paul Rinpoche said yesterday, and Wangdo Rinpoche Lama Lina also says, everything is Dzogchen. Everything is Dzogchen. And in short moments of the view, it is realized that everything is Dzogchen. Prior to introduction, we're practicing points of view. Points of view. We're practicing points of view. When we're introduced to the view, then we begin Dzogchen practice. By practicing in short moments, we can see what it is that we feel is charged rather than sublime. Something that's poking us, like, oh, I'm going to blow up because I didn't get the package of Kleenex I wanted, or whatever it is. That car in front of me, I wish it would get out of the way. That motorbike, why are those damn motorbikes polluting all of our beautiful environment? So there can be lots of things that poke. But in short moments, the poking is outshone, and no longer are we all the time feeling down-pressed. World's civilization, with the exception of sublime practitioners, world's civilization is down-pressed. Down-pressed, oppressed. As we practice short moments and maybe longer periods of meditation too, we come to see everything very distinctly. Everything that I've just mentioned. As you gather yourself into yourself, it is such a beautiful process. Like Paul Rinpoche said yesterday, being here, no meditation practice is necessary. Why? Because everything has exploded in luminosity. There aren't any points of view because everything has exploded in luminosity. The luminosity of all the practitioners here. Luminosity is not a thing to get, an object to find in the future. It's our natural state of being. And each moment, each person, each being is so sublimely beautiful. No matter the personality or whatever, it just does not matter. I need to mention that I'm not a Buddhist, and many questions about Buddhism I probably could not answer. I did want to mention about all the yanas that all the yanas have enlightenment as the fundamental practice. However, practitioners choose where they feel comfortable. And if you don't feel comfortable here, please go somewhere else. And if you don't feel comfortable here, please come back here. Now, how many here have been exposed to Lama Lina's thunder? Okay. John?
Getting an expression.
Of the view? What kind of an expression would that be?
The verbal.
A verbal expression of the view. Hmm. Pardon?
If that's
Sure.
in line with your course.
Yes, I think I understand your question. The view is related to body, speech, and mind, but not just body, speech, and mind, also qualities and activities. In Dzogchen practice, the view is practiced as Dharmakaya, Sambhogakaya, and Nirmanakaya. Beyond that, there is the Vajrakaya, or Vavakakaya, Vajrakaya, and Buddhakaya. So the last three are related to the three roots, and the first three more to the three jewels. That's my understanding and the understanding we use. Dharmakaya is the primordially pure essence of being for everyone. And being is only the desire for experience. That's all it is. Being is the desire for points of view, the desire for experience. The view is the desire for the view. To continue in practice of the view. Now, body, speech, and mind, when we grow up, we think, oh, here's my body, here's my speech coming out, here's my mind up here. And that's all there is. I've got to work with this. I've got to stand out and be an individual, that sort of thing. But when we start to practice Dzogchen, we find the view is vast. We're no longer confined to our body so much. We have a much more expansive view. It can be called awareness or open intelligence. And that view is pervaded by love. Pervaded by love. That's the authentic view. Complete openness pervaded by love. Complete perceptual openness in all experience. Freedom in immediate perception. Every single one of those utterances is from traditional Dzogchen teachings that I have received from Wangdor Rinpoche. As we feel more expansive mentally, then it enriches everything about us as a simple human being. It enriches our mind. Dzogchen practice enriches our speech. Dzogchen practice enriches our heart. Dzogchen practice enriches our relationship with the Guru. Dzogchen practice opens our understanding of what deity practice is and opens our idea of what Dakini practice is. I've spoken a little bit about body, speech, and mind. Now I want to address qualities and activities. The three roots are focused on the qualities and activities of Buddhahood, rather than only body, speech, and mind. Three roots are focused on sublime wisdom and the enrichment of enlightened energy to bring about the qualities and activities of Buddhahood. That is the entirety of the view. And like I said earlier, everything comes in a short moment, which really isn't there at all. So if you're early in practice and feel like the road seems too long and hard and filled with things that are difficult to understand, There are practices in English now of the three roots that are very beautiful to behold. I only know this because Rinpoche has encouraged me to write and teach. Otherwise, I wouldn't possibly be teaching Dzogchen. It just never would have happened. I think I've said that I feel incredible gratitude. Since I met Wangdo Rinpoche, there has not been a single instant where I felt he was not present. And I don't mean present as a subjective personality. I mean present in his divine being, his sublime being. Like Polga Rinpoche mentioned yesterday, in Guru devotion, everything is the Guru. This is the view of Dzogchen. Everything is the Guru. If you're not at the point yet where you want to practice Guru devotion, and maybe you might feel a little bit hesitant, I was always very skeptical of Guru devotion. Totally skeptical. I thought I would never do that. That is just really lame. But when I met Wangdo Rinpoche, he changed my mind instantly. He didn't have to say or do anything. This was before he said or did anything. Everything opened up, and I already had been practicing devotion, but it was amped up to the max. I can't see Lama Lena while I'm talking.
I'm back here in my usual seat.
Are you
listening.
sleeping?
No, I'm
Oh, okay.
eyes wide open.
Just wanted to check. We're good friends, as you can probably tell. Now, did that answer your question, John? Do you have any other questions about that in order to explore the topic more? Let me say a little bit more, and again, this is based on Rinpoche's teaching of view, meditation, and conduct. Meditation, we've talked about view meditation, but meditation is included in the view, and also conduct is included in the view. The three jewels and the three roots support all of this. But like I said, one moment at a time, one short moment repeated many times becomes automatic. Look it up and you'll find it threaded through all Dzogchen texts that have been translated, just short moments. Many times this teaching is not given, and I believe everyone here is prepared for this particular practice, or I wouldn't talk about it. Please ask more if you like.
The three roots. That Vajrayana practice.
It's included in Dzogchen. There's pure Dzogchen. I snap my finger, Lena. and then there's it might come out in the recording. There's pure Dzogchen, and for, well, all of the texts say that it is extremely rare. In fact, it just doesn't happen very often that there is instantaneous realization. this is something that has been popularized in the West, instantaneous realization. And some people come to Dzogchen wanting that. And perhaps it'll be true for them. Read The Wise and Glorious King by Paltrell Rinpoche. Uh, Wangdo Rinpoche's text, which will be published soon on View, Meditation, and Conduct, is a commentary on Paltrell Rinpoche's text, The Wise and Glorious King. I invite all of you to read it because he does talk about instantaneous realization in that text. And pretty much he says it doesn't happen. In the Dzogchen tradition, I have never heard a guru state that they are enlightened. Never. Why? Because it is believed that enlightenment comes fully at death. To zero in on your question, Pete. And while we're here, we get to engage in sublime qualities and activities, sublime wisdom and enlightened energy. That's really great. Our birth, our life, our death, so to speak, are an emanation of Dharmakaya anyway. It isn't as though they aren't, and then we have to run around finding Dharmakaya somewhere and then plop ourselves into it. No. Always opening up is our reality, our own nature, the only reality or nature we have or will ever have and have ever had. And so birth, life, and death essentially are points of view. That's okay. Add that to your practice, but also birth, life, and death. Here we can't say it's not. We can't say, maybe we can't say it's not. Not. So you see, the conceptual tangle falls apart. This is one of the beauties of Dzogchen teachings. There is no way for the conceptual mind to figure it all out. It's been subjected to academic study, but like I said, prior to reading a text, if you're interested in hardcore Dzogchen, look to see if the author has lineage, authenticated lineage. For example, Dujim Rinpoche, he listed all of his lineage holders, including Wangdo Rinpoche. He listed all of them in his last will and testament. Wangdo Rinpoche listed all of his lineage holders in his Namtar. All of these lists, Dujim Rinpoche, Wangdo Rinpoche, increasingly they're being published so that there will be a clear understanding of who the lineage holders are. Go to Rigpa Wiki, look up the authors, see if they hold lineage. Then enjoy the text. Go for teachings. There are incredible Dzogchen masters living today. If you aren't quite sure about guru devotion, not ready for it yet, fine, that's great. I told you how I felt. And that was a tangled perception that I had. And I was very willing to say, hey, I was wrong. The other day, someone was asking me about guru devotion as well, and I recommended to him that he visit a number of Dzogchen gurus and see where he feels a connection. Also to send the gurus in whom one is interested, send them an email or a letter or any way you can get in touch with them. Go to see them and ask a question. If you send an email asking a question, well, I know I would answer it, and I know many lineage holders who do answer emails. So perhaps you have a question about guru devotion with that particular being. You can ask about that or anything. Ask a question about practice. You're asking a question about practice when you ask about guru devotion. With each guru, it takes, I would say, a different form. But essentially, what is all important, again, as Pelga Rinpoche said yesterday, and as everyone who has said before me in far better language, just rest and see in short moments that everything really is the view. Everything is the view. The shining of the view, the tremendous display of the view. There isn't any other reality. This is Dzogchen reality. Once we're introduced, we have the privilege of carrying it with us wherever we go. And as we meet, whatever point of view it might be, it is no longer an object of desire or suffering, but it's outshone in the radiance of the lineage. Recently, I wrote a brief poem for Rinpoche upon his death, and I will share it here. It is Guru Lineage. Deity Dakini Radiance. Pardon? What were you saying, John? Oh, I see you were saying it out loud. Guru Lineage, Deity Dakini Radiance, Bodhicitta Mind, Sublime Wisdom Exaltation, Sublime Enlightened Energy, Unexcelled Wisdom Exaltation, not like practical wisdom, such as if I put my foot on the gas pedal, the car will go. That's practical wisdom. Sublime enlightened energy is the capacity to use one's own strengths, gifts, and talents, whatever they might be, as sublime wisdom and enlightened energy. Guru Lineage, Deity Dakini Radiance. The mind, the bodhicitta mind of great bliss, seeing emptiness. Unexcelled wisdom exaltation, sublime enlightened energy. More questions from anyone?
Back here from Lama Lena.
Yes,
You won't
Lena.
raise a hand because you'll never see it.
Yes.
Would you please give the pointing out for the people here?
Mm-hmm. I will. And I will give it the same way that Wangdo Rinpoche gave it to me. He did nothing and he said nothing. We all share the view. Deeply and unremittingly. Does anyone have another question? Sammy?
Being here, yes, truly, I feel it carries blessings that is far greater and beyond, just beyond description. I feel just spoke to you then, and jewels, the three roots. Also, I feel like you're speaking, or I'm hearing mind time transition, symbolic and oral. I feel resonance of clarity of my days, hold all three very potently, mind to mind, symbolic transmission, and oral transmission. And I feel the pointing out instructions, speak very directly to mind transmission, and all the symbolic and oral. I love any way of expressing those further, or way of practicing that field. I feel like you give that, it's like a cascading, give that to me an ending, but I'd love to hear anything further you can speak to this.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Sammy. We all have to allow it for ourselves. And a transmission, the words in translation almost seem to mean something else. Like, what is a transmission? Well, it's in a car and it helps the car run. That's a transmission. That's the only transmission most of us have ever heard. Now, when we have transmission, so to speak, what I like to call it is evocation of our own natural state. So we hear something, it enters us, so to speak, because we only once in a great while do we think, hey, look at me, I've got a body, and I'm a talker, and I'm a thinker. We just do not perceive ourselves as an individual very often. And when we practice, we grow to see this, that we don't see ourselves as an individual very often. What we've assumed as an individual are all the points of view. And the points of view are the shine of the view. Now, whether it's called mind-to-mind transmission, symbolic or oral, each of these have very deep meanings within the lineage of Dzogchen. They have very, very deep meanings. I think just in stating them, it's pretty clear what they are. But if you want to know more about these types of transmission, read Marvelous Garland of Rare Gems. The history by Nyosho Khenpo with the brilliant introduction by Sogyal Rinpoche, accounting for the lives of only 250 Dzogchen masters of this lineage, all from this lineage. And it is a very wonderful tome. It's not like other Dzogchen texts at all. How many have seen it? I'd like to know. Oh, Nalaya, have you seen
No,
Remark?
ma'am, I haven't.
You haven't?
I have not.
It's a wonderful work by Nyosho Kempo. He held it all in his mind, and then it was beautifully translated by Richard Barron, Choki Nima Rinpoche from Chogda Tulku Rinpoche.
Thank you, I will look for it.
All right. One of the things I enjoy about Marvelous Garland of Rare Gems is that it's always giving. It's like a Dzogchen community in a book. Many people, when they read it and they read about the incredible wisdom activities of the masters, feel completely at home. Like, I've really found my nest. This is my place. Maybe I've never ever felt before that this was my place, but now I really feel this is home. All of this is very inspiring and enriching of realization. There isn't anything that isn't enriching of realization. With the Dzogchen masters, for countless eons, Wangdo Rinpoche said, what is it, Lena? 12 or 13 world systems have had Dzogchen. What is it, Lena?
I am not remembering that.
Okay. He said 12 or
This moment.
13 world systems have had Dzogchen before this one. As we enter into Dzogchen community, just like with any community, we want to know who's in it. Who are the members? What are we associating ourselves with? And in Marvelous Garland of Rare Gems, this becomes very clear. It's a profound Dzogchen teaching in itself to partake for a lifetime. It gives a wonderful idea of just what the results of practice are and what the practices are and who the Dzogchen masters are who gave those practices, originated practices, all the way from Gyarap Dorje to the present. Lineage. Lineage is the radiance of our very own nature. It is this right here and nothing else. When you leave here, when you leave Tso Pema, the view travels with you. It travels easily and beautifully, no matter where you go. Two of the very great Dzogchen masters were imprisoned in Tibet together for 19 years. One a guru, the other a student. And when they came out, one died shortly thereafter, and the other continued on to give a commentary on Longchenpa's basic space of phenomena. And it's the only commentary given by Antril Rinpoche, the only contemporary commentary, you could say, because he spoke it in Tibet, and then he asked a friend who was a translator, Tony Duff, to translate it into English. Tony had been stealing into Tibet for 20 years, ever since Antril Rinpoche had come out of prison, listening to his teachings. And among all Tibetans who spoke a completely different dialect than Tony. And the guru, Antril Rinpoche, ignored him completely the entire 20 years he was there. And then on the last day he was there, he said, I want you to translate my commentary on the basic space of phenomena. So, Dzogchen community. When I came here to Tso Pema for Wangdur Rinpoche's cremation ceremony, there was no thought of what might happen, what might occur. And when I came here, there was a feeling, a heart feeling of just total embrace by everyone. A profoundly, I could say, organizing view of how rich Dzogchen community is, and for me, irreplaceable. I feel, though, now I find Dzogchen community everywhere. Simple, we were talking a little bit about enlightened energy. What is enlightened energy? Simple kindness, simple generosity, generosity that's always growing. Generosity, the generosity of the view is always giving. And everything that appears within the view are the riches of the view, the radiance of the view. There's nothing to get out of the view. Get out of here. Go away. Go somewhere else. I can't be enlightened if you keep occurring in my mind. Mind and consciousness are points of view. The more we practice the view, the more we see that mind and consciousness are also points of view. And everything is open all of the time. That's the reality of what we are. We're born that way, we live that way, we die that way. So that's it. You mentioned the word blessing, Sammy, and that is a word that is very important. Blessings. Wanting the blessings of the guru, wanting the blessings of the lineage. What does that mean, really? Blessings. Is the lineage trying to give us something we don't have? Or is the lineage ever present, evoking the reality of what we are right now? Blessings, when we ask for blessings, we're asking for inspiration of the guru. We're asking for the energy of the lineage. That's one of the meanings of blessings, energy. We're asking for the energy of the lineage. This is a very powerful aspiration, to ask for the blessings of the lineage. Ask for the actual enlightened energy of the lineage. Anyone who practices Dzogchen with an authentic guru can realize the reality of who they are with practice, or maybe without practice, but as you'll see in Wise and Glorious King, you'll see what Tso Rinpoche says about that. He's in our direct lineage, so take a gander. John, you had mentioned to me that you live in South India, and I particularly wanted you to know that we have a place, a monastery in Arambol, India, in Goa, so it's probably near where you are. Anyone else, too, is very welcome. John had asked particularly about it. Yes?
No, my name is Boyan. I just wanted to thank you for giving me this little taste of just thank you, this taste of teaching.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Enzo.
First of all, thank you for this very auspicious circumstance here. Particularly blessings of wonderful. I very much enjoyed the meeting of the two sanghas among all the beauty that I'm experiencing all the time here. It's very blessed and sacred place. Would you share about the relation within the two sanghas? And yeah, how I can see as a very auspicious junction at the moment, and yeah, if you could further expand on this meeting for the sanghas after the passing or final.
Sure. Well, Sangha, the you could say the unexcelled Sangha is everything. And more specific to your question about our Sangha balanced view, coming here to be with Wangdo Rinpoche's Sangha, all one Sangha. We're all one Sangha. And we taste the different flavors wherever we go. It's interesting that you mention this because I have felt it so keenly, just the indivisibility. It's as though we've always been here. Anyone else have a question? Let's sit for a few moments with Wangdo Rinpoche.
This temple cave was once Wangdo Rinpoche's practice cave, in which he made retreat before he offered it as a temple cave to the community. So his blessing is very strong here. receive katas.
Okay.
Those of you who would like to offer a kata in thanks to Lama Candice or any other offering, now is the time to do so.
And if you can remove those cushions so that there's free passage to Mama. Thank you.